Now that ID age verification is a thing in the UK and some states in the United States, websites now have to decide whether or not they want to follow this law, with YouTube deciding, you know what, we're just going to have ID age verification for users if our systems decide that someone is under 18, and those systems are obviously AI. Well, not every website has decided that they will follow this, including 4chan and Kiwi Farms, which are actually suing the UK's Office of Communications for trying to enforce their laws onto United States websites. They argue that this is a breach of their First Amendment right to have freedom of speech, and they're actually going to go forward with suing Ofcom in a court of law. Well, another website that seems to be fighting against the whole age verification thing is Blue Sky, where they have now blocked access to their website in the state of Mississippi, a state in the United States. So Blue Sky has made some official statements saying that this actually violates their freedom of speech and expression as well, and especially for the users of their website. They made an official announcement saying that they do not take this decision lightly, and they're going to go ahead and just go forward with just blocking the access to the website in Mississippi, as opposed to requiring all of their users to provide ID verification. Some of you guys might be wondering what Blue Sky is. Blue Sky is actually an alternative to Twitter. It has that look of old Twitter, and honestly, the layout of the website looks great. But yeah, in their official statement, they said, unfortunately, Blue Sky is unavailable in Mississippi right now due to a new state law that requires age verification for all users. While intended for child safety, we think this law poses broader challenges and creates significant barriers that limit free speech and harms smaller platforms like ours. With legal challenges to this law pending, we cannot justify building the expensive required infrastructure. For now, we have made the difficult decision to block access in Mississippi. To learn more, read our blog post. So Mississippi passed HB 1126 law, which was upheld by the United States court on August 14th, where they say that all social media platforms must verify that every user accessing the platform is over 18 and obtain parental consent for all minors looking to use the app. Damn, Mississippi's going deep, man. They said all social media websites. I mean, by definition, YouTube kind of counts as a social media platform too. So yeah, for example, YouTube is just saying, hey, if you want access to advanced features, then you have to make sure you provide your ID verification. Mississippi is saying, nah, all social media platforms have to verify that a user is over 18. The law also requires tech providers to identify and keep track of all teen and child users. Fines for non-compliance can reach up to $10,000 per user. The Blue Sky said building the required verification systems, parental consent workflows, and compliance infrastructure would require significant resources that our small team is currently unable to spare as we invest in developing safety tools and features for our global community. But they're also concerned about the quote law's broad scope that could affect all citizens in Mississippi to use their favorite platforms, negatively impacting their right to free speech and access to information. They also talked about the privacy implications that could stem from collecting and storing such sensitive information about all users, as well as from tracking minors online. As we've talked about recently, YouTube knows all about this because they have been sued multiple times for collecting the data of children on their website and have had to pay tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions, sometimes even over $1 billion to settle lawsuits. The funny thing is that Blue Sky was actually one of the first providers to enforce the age verification rules in the UK, but there is a big difference between what they enforced with the UK laws and what is being enforced in Mississippi. Based on the UK's Online Safety Act, Blue Sky and similar providers are required to verify users' age only for accessing content deemed legal but harmful. So basically, the types of content that kids shouldn't be seeing, that's the type of content that Blue Sky and similar providers have to try to prevent kids from seeing, so they will request your ID to view content like that. Mississippi is saying, nope, all social media usage, they have to verify if they're over 18 or not. So it's a pretty big difference. So I can see why Blue Sky is putting their foot down in this situation. Mississippi's law, by contrast, would block everyone from accessing the site, teens and adults, unless they hand over sensitive information. And once they do, the law in Mississippi requires Blue Sky to keep track of which users are children. So essentially store the information of the kids. However, just like most websites, you can actually just use a VPN from Mississippi, but maybe Mississippi might outlaw VPN usage or something. I don't know, anything's possible at this point. NordVPN's privacy advocate said, while technically possible, using a VPN to circumvent such measures may go against the platform's rules and local regulations, because technically minors are not supposed to be using NordVPN. Another VPN CEO said that this may signal a sign of things to come as other companies could follow suit. I mean, yeah, at this point, I don't even really know how this age verification thing is going to spread. It's probably going to spread to almost every single website on the internet. People keep saying, oh, the majority of this is happening in the UK, so we're okay, right? Well, it was happening in the UK, and YouTube still globally enforced ID verification if you're marked as under 18. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is spreading to every single website, pretty much anything online that you can think of. So if websites and the public don't put their foot down and say, you know what, this is bullshit, this is just going to keep going on and on and on. Here were some of their main concerns with what Mississippi did with their law. Blue Sky says the law requires age verification for all users, not just those accessing age-restricted content, which affects the ability of everyone in Mississippi to use Blue Sky. The compliance requirements disadvantage newer and smaller platforms like Blue Sky, which do not have the luxury of big teams to build the necessary tooling. The law makes it harder for people to engage in free expression and chills the opportunity to communicate in new ways. And most importantly, the law requires collecting and storing sensitive personal information from all users, including detailed tracking of minors. If it was about the safety of the kids, surely you wouldn't mandate websites to collect the information of said children. And they explain that it's completely different from the Online Safety Act in the UK, which is still bad, which although is still really bad, at least it's only asking for ID if you're trying to access over 18 content. Mississippi said, fuck all that. If you want to use social media, hand over that shiny ID, please. Thank you. So I'm glad they're sticking with their guns and saying, yeah, we don't want to require Mississippi Blue Sky users to hand over their sensitive personal information. We think this law creates challenges that go beyond its child safety goals and creates significant barriers that limit free speech and disproportionately harm smaller platforms and emerging technology. They do make a good point there too. They likely, as a smaller platform, don't have the means to actually implement all the ID age verification technology that Mississippi is requiring. But I would hope that their main motivation isn't to try to save money, is to try to protect the kids from having their data collected and trying to stop state and federal law from saying, hey, if you want to use any website on the internet, hand over that ID, please. But on the topic of Blue Sky, I actually do have a Blue Sky account myself. One thing I love about Blue Sky is it reminds me of old Twitter. I mean, at the end of the day, Twitter has kind of just turned super shitty with all the whole OnlyFans models everywhere and bots, and it's just really like not the website that it used to be. I don't know if Blue Sky will ever really catch on like Twitter ever did, but at the end of the day, it seems like a good alternative, so do what you got to do. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. It is good that more and more websites are banding together to try to fight against this whole age verification thing. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. See ya.